Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one. Welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. Today we've got a tier 11 standard battle for you here on the Lakeville map. And it is very, very tier 11, roughly half of both teams are in the new tier 11 tanks. Including today's hero, Nate, in the American tier 11 heavy tank, the Black Rock. Nate here has been watching my channel since he was 11 years old. He's 21 now. He's basically grown up listening to my voice. Nate, I can only apologise for that. But enough about me. Today it's all about Nate and the Black Rock. So, what do you need to know about the Black Rock? Well, Nate is no expert in it. This is only his 5th game yet. Oh, Nate, your tank has a very nice hat. I do like that hat. Good job. But I think it's fairly safe to say that this tank is pretty good, which is kind of like saying hurricanes are a little bit windy. This tank might just be a little bit overpowered and broken. I mean, I find myself saying that about all of the tier 11s so far, at least the ones I've seen. But it is definitely true of the Black Rock. Let's talk about the 3 things that go to make up a tank's characteristics, because tank designers, until relatively recently, always had to balance 3 different priorities: firepower, mobility, and what used to be called armour, but which now gets called protection, because simply sticking a bunch of armour on the tank and preventing any shots from getting through isn't necessarily the best thing to do. Sometimes you can enhance a tank's protection more by mitigating what happens if a successful shot penetrates, rather than focusing all of your efforts on simply preventing those shots from penetrating. So that's why they call it protection now rather than armor. But those are the 3 things: firepower, mobility and protection. Choose 2 because you can't have all 3. Well, as you can see, the Black Rock has pretty good armor. He's blocked 1,000 damage so far. He's blocked 1,500 damage so far. The actual physical armour on this thing isn't that impressive, unlike, for example, the Taschenrate, the German tier 11 heavy that we featured in the video last week or the week before. The one that he was poking holes in just about a minute ago, which is covered by massive slabs of thick armour basically everywhere. The actual armour on the Black Rock is not weak, but it's not really that thick. Pretty much everywhere around the front it varies between 150 and 175 millimeters. The thing is, it's also steeply angled and sloped and rounded that the actual effective frontal armour, which is why he's doing so well in this position, is in excess of 300 millimeters. Basically everywhere around the front of this tank. It effectively doesn't have any frontal weak spots. Unlike the Taschenrate, which, like the mouse upon which it's based, does have very, very thick slabs of frontal armour, but does also have what are, I can't believe I'm saying 200 millimeters of armour is a weak spot, but at tier 10 and 11 it kind of is, especially if it's flat, like the turret cheeks of the mouse and the Taschenrate, which can be easily penetrated by guns at this tier. That is not the case with the Black Rock. So while it doesn't technically have amazing armour, it does have amazing protection. Now the gun. You notice when he scored that damaging hit on the IS-7, the second of those 2 bars at the bottom of his aiming reticle lit up? And once the second one lit up, you've now got a sort of 2-shot icon. He's just activated a burst fire mode. There it goes, 2 shots into and killing that IS-7. This, aside from the amazing frontal armour, is the Black Rock's party piece. Every time you score 2 penetrating hits in a row, you get to fire 2 shots very, very quickly. It's a burst fire mode. Oh, they're rushing the enemy team. The enemy team have already lost, by the way. In fact, they lost around about 2 minutes ago. You could tell just by looking at the map, because they basically, I think, only sent 2 tanks to the town, and they were the first 2 enemy tanks killed, so they completely surrendered map control. Their entire team was clustered down here in this corner of the map, and now they're completely outflanked and sitting in a crossfire. So they've lost the match. It's just a question of who's going to get all the kills and do all the damage. Spoiler, it's going to be Nate. Not much of a spoiler. But yes, with 430 damage per shot on this bizarre caliber 114mm gun, a 10-second reload and 283mm of standard armor piercing penetration, 335 with gold, the firepower is pretty impressive too. So the mobility has to be terrible, correct? Are you kidding me? Have you seen how fast this thing is? Hang on, I thought you said firepower, mobility, protection. Pick two because you can't have all three. Yeah, traditionally that has always been the case. You know, you can have a tank that's really fast with great firepower, but it's not going to be well armoured. Like, for example, the Leopard, prime example. Or you can have a tank that is extremely well armoured with great firepower, but it's going to move like a brick because the weight of all of that armour slows it down. You get the idea. Firepower, protection, mobility. Pick two because you can't have all three. Except, as long as you're just making shit up. Watch how fast this thing can go. Remember, this is a heavy tank. And yeah, okay, I mean, the AMX-50B there is a heavy tank too, and it is very, very fast. It has great firepower, but it doesn't have great armour, except for the turret front. The Blackrock, however, he is actually chasing a Manticore. It's the last surviving tank on the enemy team. It's the British Tier 10 light tank. It is extremely stealthy and extremely quick. And he is chasing it at 51 kilometers per hour in a tank with off-the-charts protection and off-the-charts firepower. It turns out that as long as you're just making shit up, you can have all three. I suppose if we're being completely fair, you can actually have all three. Certain modern Western main battle tanks do have great protection, great firepower and great mobility. But that's mainly due to advances in engine technology, specifically turbine engines, which are basically jet engines in tanks, which are hideously expensive to run because they guzzle fuel constantly, and weren't around at the time this tank, I don't want to say developed, because this tank was never developed, but other tanks that I'm pretty sure have inspired the Blackrock were being developed, specifically the XN70 tank program, which was a joint program between the USA and, believe it or not, Germany, with all kinds of advanced futuristic technologies that just weren't mature or reliable enough to work in the 1970s, and there weren't really any backups for when they inevitably failed. So the program was cancelled. But that's kind of what. It's an unmanned turret for maximum crew protection, with all of the crew in the hull, separated from all of the ammunition storage with an automatic ammunition feed system and probably a turbine engine. Well, the tanks didn't specify. But that's the general idea. And that's kind of why they can get away with a tank as outrageously bullshit as this, because it does have amazing mobility. He circled the entire map in about a minute, in a heavy tank, chasing down a Manticore. The entire enemy team have been emptying their pockets at him since the start of this match. And he's still alive. He's lost almost all of his health, but he's still alive, and he's blocked more than 5,000 damage with his armour. As for damage done, well, the Manticore, he did actually get a cap reset off there. He's going to finish this game with a Defender medal. But he's about to run into Nate, and, which means he's Nate's 7th victim, and 14,500 damage done for Nate in the Blackrock. This is only the 5th game he's played in this tank. He has done more damage than the next 5 highest scoring members of his team combined, 4 of whom are also tier 11s, 2 of whom are tier 11 tank destroyers. He's also blocked 5 times more damage with his armour than the enemy Taschenrate, which, remember, has on average at least 100mm thicker armour everywhere than the Blackrock, while simultaneously travelling 3.3 kilometres in the 10 minutes that battle lasted. with probably 2.3 of those 3.3 kilometres done in the last 2 minutes. It turns out that as long as you're just making shit up, the thing that you're making up, even though it did actually fail horribly in reality, can just work in World of Tanks. And you can have the best in firepower, protection, and mobility, all in one star-spangled package. Thank you, Nate, not just for sending that battle in, which was a great battle, but also for following me for the last 10 years of your life. One more year, and you will have been watching me for half of your life. Your parents must be so proud. And I hope you all enjoyed watching him utterly ruffle stomp the opposition with that 14,500 damage battle. Because that is it for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, take care. And I'll catch you next time.